Well, happy Mother's Day if you're celebrating this morning. I wonder if you had a similar experience to that. Perhaps you've been a little bit underwhelmed by any gifts that you've been given this morning. Or perhaps you've experienced being overwhelmed by an extravagant gift. I love it on a film when, there's like the dad dangles the car keys to the teenage child and the keys to the car, and the car is on the drive. Maybe the car doesn't look quite like this one for a teenager, but the car's got a big bow on it. No, I've never seen that in reality, but it seems to happen on the films a lot. This extravagant gift. Or on Instagram, maybe this is just my feed, but I seem to watch a lot of films where there's a child and they've got this box and they open it up and inside there's a kitten or a puppy, and you think they're going to be so excited by receiving this, but they just burst into tears because they're just so overwhelmed by this thing that they obviously really wanted to have. Well, I had a gift given to me last Christmas. I've brought it here with me in this box. Now, you might not think this is very exciting, but it's some soap. My daughter Phoebe gave it to me. It's grapefruit and mandarin. Not, what was that thing? Pomegranate and hummus. Not that. White company, very expensive. And she gave it to me the Christmas before last, and it smells really lovely. It's really nice. And it's pretty different to, this is the soap that we buy as a family from Costco. 5 litres. So this is like a 20th of the size, but they're about the same price. And so Phoebe got me this, and when she came at Christmas this year, she was really disappointed because she looked and she said, "Look, Mum, you've never even used it." And I was like, "Oh, it's too nice to use." And she was like, "Yeah, but I haven't bothered buying you something like that this year because I know that you'll not use it." So actually what I've been doing since Christmas is having it, because it's got such a lovely smell, and the smell really kind of lingers on your hands. So like if I'm going out and I'm going on a long journey or something, I'll use it just before I go to the loo before you go out or whatever. And I use this soap because I know that the smell will linger on my hands for an hour or so, which is really lovely. Giving gifts is Phoebe's love language, but we all like to give and receive gifts, and on days like today, Mother's Day or Christmas or something like that, it's really nice to give gifts and to receive gifts. Giving gifts gives us an opportunity to show love, devotion, and gratitude. So we're giving gratitude to our mums today, aren't we, for all that they do for us. I think as people, we're hardwired to give love and devotion. Sometimes we'll give that to people that we know, our friends or our family. Sometimes we give our love and devotion to something that's a thing, like a football team or following a celebrity, or it might be our jobs. We spend time and energy and our money on giving love and devotion. And I think as Christians, God created us to give love and devotion, to worship him. We worship him. We've been singing songs this morning, haven't we? It's not because God's some kind of, egotistical maniac who demands that everybody worships him, but because he knows that it's beneficial for us. When we give gifts, when we show love and devotion to people, then it makes us feel good. We feel good. I think that we have a choice in life. We have a choice as to who we choose to give love and devotion to, and how we choose to show that love and devotion. And today, we're going to be thinking a little bit about a lady that we read about in the New Testament who showed her love and devotion to Jesus in an extravagant way. Now, if you're thinking, oh, this is the point where I'll just start doom scrolling because I'm not interested in what it says in the Bible, then I encourage you to kind of listen in for a little while, because I think that the lessons that we can learn from this lady can help us all in whatever circumstances and whatever we believe. So the lady that we're going to be thinking about this morning is called Mary. Now, it's not Mary who was Mary, the mother of Jesus. This is Mary, who was a close friend of Jesus. She had a sister called Martha, and she had a brother called Lazarus. And we read about these 3 friends of Jesus in the Gospels. These are the accounts, the biographical accounts of Jesus' life. And we haven't got time this morning to go into everything that happened with them. But just a few weeks before the event we're going to look at, Jesus actually raised Lazarus from the dead. He'd been dead for a few days, and Jesus came and his heart was moved, and he raised Lazarus from the dead. Now, if my sibling had died and been raised from death back to life, then I would be pretty awestruck by Jesus as well. And so we're going to read a story of what happened. And we're going to read it from Mark's Gospel. Now, Mark was the sort of apprentice of Peter, and Peter was one of Jesus' followers. So Mark wrote down, we think, that Peter's story of being with Jesus. And so we are going to read this. Now, if you are doing the Bible reading, there's a group of us who are reading through the New Testament this year. This hopefully will be familiar to you because we started the year reading Mark. And if you'd like to join us, then now is a really good time to do that because tomorrow we start looking at a different book in the Bible. So you can find out more about that at the Hub. But anyway, so Mark helps us set the scene and put this story in context. And he says this: now the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread were only 2 days away. And that helps us to know when this happened. Basically, this is happening in the week running up to Easter. So it's a really good time for us to be thinking about this story. And Jewish people were gathering in Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover and festival of unleavened bread. It says they're only 2 days away. So Jesus has come into Jerusalem riding on a donkey, and people were like really excited to see him. Passover is a time when all the people, the Jewish peoples, were thanking God, giving him gratitude for rescuing their ancestors from Egypt thousands of years ago. So thousands of people are going up to Jerusalem. And it says this: and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were scheming to arrest Jesus secretly and kill him. But not during the festival, they said, or the people may riot. Now, basically, the chief priests and the teachers of the law didn't like Jesus at all. They didn't like that all the people gathered and were excited to see him. They didn't like the fact that people were excited that he did these miracles and healed people. They didn't like the fact that Jesus called out their hypocrisy, like their worship was all sort of self-centered rather than being all about God. And they didn't like the fact that Jesus called himself the Son of God. They saw him as a threat. And that's why, secretly, they wanted to kill him. But Jesus went up to Jerusalem anyway. And as a Jewish man, that's a typical thing that he would do, not too surprising. What is surprising is that Jesus knew that when he went up to Jerusalem, he was going to die. Now, if I knew that, if I thought I was going to go to somewhere and I would be in danger, then I would be heading in the other direction. But not Jesus. He didn't avoid it. He went into that position because he knew that he wasn't just a good man or a good teacher. He did know that he was the Son of God and that it was part of God's rescue plan for him to sacrifice his life for the sake of humanity. So that's setting the scene. That's the context. And now the specifics of where he was. Mark then tells us this. He says, while he, Jesus, was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper. Now, Bethany is where Mary, Martha, and Lazarus lived. And so, I imagine that week, Jesus probably was in great turmoil and he's facing what he knows is going to be a horrific death. And so it sounds like after he's gone into Jerusalem, he takes some time to come back out of Jerusalem and visit his close friends in Bethany. I can understand that, wanting to spend some time just seeing and spending some sort of downtime collecting his thoughts with his friends. And it says here that he was reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper. It says this: a woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume made of pure nard. Now, what we know by looking at a different account from John's account, John tells us that this was probably a gathering, and Jesus was like the honored guest. It was in his honor. And it says there that Lazarus was with Jesus and that Martha was waiting on them. And Mary was this woman who came in with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume. Now, I don't know if any of you are wearing eau de nard or parfum de nard this morning. Raise your hand if you're wearing that this morning. Well, if you're like me, I've no idea what nard is, but I was intrigued to know, and because it says that it was very expensive, I did a little bit. Oh, let me just tell you this. It says this: she broke the jar and poured the perfume on his head. Now, what is nard? So, I did a little bit of research. So this is probably an alabaster jar similar to what Mary would have walked in with. Probably long and thin, because the thing about alabaster jars was that you would fill them up and then you would break them once. It wasn't something that you would pour a little bit out of and then put it away again. An alabaster jar was something, it would probably be thin like this, so you could break the neck of it and then use all of it. And I was really intrigued as to what this nard would have been like. So where do you go when you want to know something? I went on Amazon to see if I could buy some, and I discovered that you can buy it. And just as they said in Mark's Gospel that it was expensive, it is expensive. So I look at this, £1,579 if you want to buy a litre of it. So in John's Gospel, we find out that that when she came in, it was about a pint. Now, I've bought, because it's easier to know what you mean by that. This is my pint jug. And it says that they would have had a pint of it. Now, a pint, let's just move that down there for a second. A pint would be about 500 mils, so £1,126. So I said, oh, it's a bit too much for me. But I did buy some. I bought the smallest amount. I bought the 4.7 mils. And I thought it would be fun to find out what it smells like. So I know the guest services team are lined up. So why don't we hand out? So I thought you'd like to know what nard smells like. We're going to give you some of these like perfume testers. Now, it's quite a pungent smell. So when you pass these along, I would suggest that you don't touch the thin end. You know, pointy end, if it's a knife, it's danger. But you might like to smell it, because I thought it might be quite a nice smell, but it's quite a pungent smell. So as they pass those out, just smell it and pass it along, so you can all smell what nard smells like. Who's in favour of nard? It's not the nicest smell, is it? So nard apparently is from India. It's from a plant, a root of a plant in India, and they would make oil from it. Ooh, I knew I'd lose you. Who's in favour of nard? Do you like it? Who likes it? Who doesn't like it? It's a bit medicinal, isn't it? Let me tell you a little bit about nard. It's from India. So that's why it's expensive. It's expensive for us, but it was super expensive in Jesus' day, because, you know, a boat from India over to Palestine in those days would have cost a lot of money. We found out that it would have been a year's salary. That's like 24,000. I think, you know, 1,000 is quite a lot, but 24,000 pounds worth of nard that Mary came in with. And it says that she poured it on Jesus' head. You know, they used to use it, we read about it in the Old Testament, that they used to use it to anoint bodies at royal funerals. So if you were a king and you died, they would pour nard over your body to kind of take the smell away in that hot country. So what Mary does when she comes in and she pours that over Jesus' head is something very extravagant. It would have cost her a lot of money. It's quite an that little smoke. That would be like one drip on those pieces of those little sticks. But we're talking about a pint. Now, I said I didn't buy the nard, but I just want you to know what a pint of something. This is olive oil or corn oil or something. Olive oil. This is what it would have been like for Jesus to have that nard poured over his head. It would have gone on and on and on. And it's oil, so it's not sticky. It's not like having water poured over your head. This is a pint of nard, let's pretend, being poured over Jesus' head. Now, I need a volunteer. I don't really. Don't worry. Be fun though, wouldn't it? I've got a towel here because it gets a bit sticky. Oil is sticky, isn't it? And can you imagine? I want you to imagine the scene. You know, that oil has gone over Jesus' head. It's in his hair. It's on his body. It's going all over his clothes. Jesus must have stunk. And the smell that we read in John's Gospel, it says the smell filled the whole house. So let's read on a little bit next. Some of those present were saying indignantly to one another, "Why this waste of perfume?" Oh, I'm getting the smell of it now. "It could have been sold for more than a year's wages and the money given to the poor." And they rebuked her harshly. So Mary comes in and does this thing, and she gets criticized and rebuked for it. I think actually I might have been one of those people, thinking, why? We could have sold that and given the money to the poor. That was something that they used to do at Passover. They would give offerings of money to the poor. John's Gospel tells us one thing extra. He says one of his disciples, Jesus' disciples, Judas Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected, "Why wasn't this perfume sold and given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages." He didn't say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put in it. Judas, this was a missed opportunity. He wanted to skim off a percentage of the profits. But Jesus sees through those people. He sees through the motive behind Judas' comments. And he says this. He says, "Leave her alone. Why are you bothering her? She has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will always have with you, and you can help them anytime you want. Not just at Passover, anytime you want. But you will not always have me." To Jesus, what Mary has done is a beautiful thing. And he goes on to say this. "She did what she could. She poured perfume on my body beforehand to prepare for my burial. Truly, I tell you, wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her." And that's exactly what we're doing this morning, isn't it? We are thinking about Mary and what she has done. We don't really know what was the motive behind why Mary did this thing to Jesus, in terms of why did she pour nard, this funeral oil, over Jesus? You know, Jesus hadn't kept it quiet what was going to happen to him. He did keep telling his followers that he was going to go up to Jerusalem and he would be killed as a sacrifice. And the rest of the followers didn't really believe him. But I wonder if Mary was the one person who truly did believe him and understood that Jesus was going to be a sacrifice. We know from other stories that she sat at his feet and listened to his every word. I wonder how that whole thing makes you feel when you're sitting here listening to it. This act of extravagant devotion, how would you have been in the room? Critical, feeling a bit awkward? I think I would have been squirming a little bit. You know, I'm not somebody who likes overt acts of love, and I feel a little bit awkward when I see those sort of things happening around us. I wonder how you feel when you hear about people doing amazing things, but they might feel a little bit ridiculous or feel a little bit uncomfortable. Well, actually, I want to introduce you to someone. You may know her already, but a lady called Dom. So, Dom, do you want to come up? And I want Dom to come and share with us a little bit this morning about something that she's doing that...
I'm not on. Oh, I am now. Good morning, everyone.
Is a little bit extravagant, maybe a little bit
It's a little bit extravagant. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you, Dom, for coming and being with us this morning.
My pleasure.
For people who don't know you,
yes,
can you just introduce yourself quickly?
Of course. So I am the Guest Services and Events Coordinator here at FBC. And I've been coming here for 7 years.
Wow, it's a long time. It's really nice to know Dom. So, Dom, tell us a little bit about what you are doing this year.
Of course. So I am going to move to north central Nigeria to work with persecuted Christians and displaced children.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about why you are doing that, Dom.
Because I really have a heart for the persecuted church, but also I it's my way of devoting my life to Jesus. And I really strongly believe that, that these people deserve to have the hope that we have, and to know that they are known and loved by our Heavenly Father.
Yeah. So what exactly specifically sort of things you're going to be doing?
Goodness, a lot of different things, but mainly, so I'll be Bible teaching with the persecuted Christians. So a lot of them flee from the north. They flee being beheaded, and all sorts of awful things, being put in solitary confinement. So I'll be doing Bible teaching. We do a lot of discipleship programs. We also teach the children key skills, so key life skills. A lot of them don't have parents anymore, so there's not much hope when you live in northern Nigeria of really getting anywhere if you don't have a family. So I'll be working with children as well, which will be a real blessing, discipling them, guiding them, that kind of stuff. So,
wow,
yeah.
That's amazing. And are you going to get paid lots of money to go into, it sounds a bit dangerous, so it's danger money, do you get paid that?
Danger money, absolutely not. No, so the way that it works, as a missionary, I have to self-fund this. So I am appealing to the church and to friends and family to help me raise money for this trip, essentially. Yeah.
Tell me, what kind of feedback have you had from people when you tell them what you're doing?
Well, I've had a lot of criticism and concern, and naturally, I understand that, because it's not, the normal thing to do to move to northern Nigeria, where it is incredibly dangerous. So I've been discouraged, but I've also had a lot of encouragement, Rachel, which has been, good and exciting. And I am expectant, so to see what the Lord does. He goes before me, so yeah, I'm
That's amazing.
encouraged.
Yeah, brilliant. So how can we support you?
Financially, so financial giving would be amazing. I'm planning on going this August. I need to make all of the funds before I go. And also prayer. Prayer is absolutely integral for this. So just prayer for preparation, for provision, for the Lord to guide me and prepare the people as well that I'll be ministering to. So there is more information on our website. It's finchampstead.com /Dominique. So that will give you a little bit more information and some links to how you can get involved in this. So partnering with me on this mission. Yeah.
And you've told me before that we could support you practically. Give us the one thing that could be something that we could all
If anyone is up for sending me Marmite, that would be great. Marmite, cheese, wine? No, maybe not wine. But yeah, that would be wonderful.
I don't know about cheese all that way in the.
Yeah,
might be a
actually,
bit
it might be overly matured.
But
maybe not.
Wine and Marmite sounds perfect.
Yeah.
So, and we can keep in touch with you, can't we? Send you
absolutely,
messages
yeah,
and
letters. That would be really encouraging. Actually, just emails, letters. For those that know me or those that want to get to know me. I'll be outside as well at the hub after the service. So if anyone has any more questions, I'm more than happy to talk about it. And
brilliant. Thank you so much. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank
Dom.
you, guys.
Are you all right? Thank you. Thanks to Dom. That's amazing. The world would think that what she's doing is a bit ridiculous, going somewhere that's dangerous. And we've heard that people have sort of questioned her of what she's doing. But I think that Dom has showed us that, sometimes showing love and devotion to Jesus can be something really awesome, like what she's doing. We might think it's foolish. We might be in awe of her, we might feel a little bit guilty, but we can all support her by praying for her, maybe giving financial, send a bit of Marmite or something like that. So thank you to Dom, really lovely to hear a little bit more about that. Well, let's get back to our story. And what we discover is that this act of love and devotion that Mary has done, what Jesus thinks is beautiful, is like the final straw for Judas. He can't take any more. And it says, then Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went to the chief priests to betray Jesus to them. They were delighted to hear this and promised to give him money. So he watched for an opportunity to hand him over. And the deal that Judas does with the chief priests leads to the arrest, the torture, and the eventual crucifixion of Jesus. So he's left the room. But I wonder what it was like in that room for the rest of the evening with that overpowering smell of the nard. What was it like for Jesus, the honoured guest, as he had this nard in his hair, on his body? That smell would have started to linger on him. A little bit like my soap, but for a bit longer, to have that pint poured over his head. You know, in those days, they didn't have showers. Water was too precious in such a hot climate. So the next day, he'd woken up and that smell would still be lingering in his hair. The day after that, when he shared that Passover supper with his disciples, with his followers, that smell would have been lingering in his hair and on his body. As Judas went out to betray him, that smell would have lingered on his body. As he went into the Garden of Gethsemane and pleaded with God, please don't let me have to do it, this thing that I've got to do, that smell would have been lingering on his body and in his hair. When he was arrested, when he was tortured, when he was stripped, when he was beaten, when he was spat on, that smell would have lingered in his hair. When he hung on the cross, when he was there all alone, abandoned by his friends, saying to God, why have you abandoned me? When he was separated, the one thing that he would have had was that smell lingering in his hair. As he faced his own act of love and devotion for people, then he would have had that one tangible thing with him, the love of Mary. In his darkest of dark places, that would have been an encouragement when he needed it most. Perhaps the band would like to come up. We're coming to an end. We said at the beginning, didn't we, that we have a choice of who we give that love and devotion to and how we choose to show that love and devotion. And here we are on Mother's Day thinking about being grateful for our mums. But we can ask ourselves the question, how do we show love and devotion extravagantly to the people around us, our friends, our family, but also for people that we've never met? How could we bring beauty into dark places, hope into the darkest of dark? You know, if you've not heard about this story before, maybe you've never really thought about the Bible before, you might think that what we're talking about is all a bit crazy. You might think that Mary was crazy. You might think that what Dom is doing is crazy. But both those two ladies have experienced life change because they've experienced the love of Jesus and the forgiveness that he gives because of that death that he gave us on the cross. He overcame death. And he was resurrected. And we can all experience that too. And if you'd love to talk more about that, I'd love to talk to you about that, or Chris, or Dom, or anyone up here on the guest services team, or the person you came with. We'd love to talk to you about that. But if we're followers of Jesus, I wonder what it means for us. You know, how do we show our love and devotion to Jesus? Does it look like this, or does it look a little bit more like this? You know, the sort of just the stuff we use because we have to. You know, how do we show our love and devotion to Jesus, to show our gratitude for what he's done for us? And I know that there's people here who do amazing things for people in amazing ways. But maybe we need to just ask ourselves a few soul-searching questions. You know, do we need to be a little bit more like Mary, who was willing to do something in front of people to admit how much she loved Jesus, even though she got criticism and rebuke for it? Perhaps we should be baptized, and we've been thinking about it and putting it off. Perhaps this is your moment, your little prod to say, yeah, I'd love to be baptized. Perhaps we need to stand up and defend people, just like Dom is doing in Nigeria, people who need defending. You know, if you are a follower of Jesus and it's not really moving you, then maybe we even need to ask the question, have we really truly grasped the magnitude of what Jesus has done for us, his sacrifice for us, the fact that we have forgiveness and that we experience his love? You know, I love this story about Mary because she gave this act of love to Jesus, her devotion and gratitude, but actually what she didn't know was how much more it did for Jesus. He knew it was a beautiful thing, and it did go with Jesus into that dark place. And we might be like that. We could do just a small thing to help someone, and it could have a massive impact. So before we sing our last song together, let's just pray together now. Father God, we thank you for what you have done for us. We thank you that you showed love and devotion to us, that while we were sinners, while we'd done wrong things, you were willing to die on that cross so that we could be reunited with our Heavenly Father and experience forgiveness. We thank you for that. And Lord, just pray that you show each one of us ways that we can practically show love and devotion to other people, that we can bring light and hope into dark places. Thank you for the opportunities that we have, and show us more that we can do in these coming days and weeks. In your name we pray. Amen.